Shalom Israel. Before I start, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach well. To the Akims and the highways and byways pushing this word in truth and sincerity. To the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now today is the 3rd of April 2020. And as some may know, there's a nationwide fast going on. And this is just to go through some scriptures that to show that us having a nationwide fast is a good thing, and it's something that our people always did, our ancestors did. And there's incidences of those, recorded incidences of those in the scriptures. And we would call upon the Father to protect us and guide us when we were going through troubled times. And I don't think anyone would deny that the times we are going through now are troubled times, and as the scripture says, there'll be perilous times to come. So this is Revelation chapter 12 verse 17. It says, "And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Yahushai and Mashiach." It says the dragon went to make war with the remnant of her seed. This isn't talking about the church. This is talking about us today. Those of us that have faith in Yahushai and that are keeping the commandments. So it's a good thing for us as a nation to keep a fast together as a people. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what we may call our individual bodies, for want of a better word, or sanctuaries, the Most High, He called us Israel. And it doesn't say that the dragon is coming to make war with a particular camp. It's coming to make war with the remnant of our seed, which is us, the Israelites. So it's good for us as a people to get together, as a nation, to get together and call upon the Most High, through fasting and prayer. It's good for us to fast and pray in general, as individual. And it's, we shouldn't just wait for the Day of Atonement for us to fast and pray, which, I'll hold my hands up as well, I'm not throwing any stones at the end of the day. But if we know that, as a nation we're holding a fast, and it's for a good cause, it's not for someone's own personal gain, it's for us as a nation of people who's going through troubled times, it's a good thing for us to band together and call upon the Most High. So what I really want to do, just read a few instances in the scriptures where we as a body, as a nation, will call upon the Most High. Before I do that, this is 2nd Ezra 16 and 70. It says, "For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord." And we know those that fear the Lord are those who have faith in Yahushai and are keeping the commandments to the best of their ability. So it says that there's going to be a great insurrection. So like I said, there's perilous times that we're going through now, but there's more perilous times to come. And it's a good thing for us to entreat upon the Lord to guide and protect us through these perilous times. Now, last scripture I'm going to read before I go into those other scriptures about us fasting as a nation is 2nd Esdras, Salakia. I don't want 2nd Esdras. Sorry. Give me a second. I want Sirach chapter 2 and verse 10. Like I said, it's a good thing for us as a people to fast in general, on our own. But it's also good for us to fast as a nation, call upon the Most High as a body, as one body, as His people, as Yasharallah. Now this is Sirach chapter 2 verse 10. It says, because the scripture says, when we read Romans 15 and 4, it says, "Whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning." And like I said, when we go through the scriptures, I'm only going to pull 3. But there's numerous scriptures where us as a people called upon the Most High during times of trouble and distress, and He heard us. And we're going through those times now with worse to come. So it's a good thing for us to call upon the Most High as a nation through prayer and fasting. This is Sirach chapter 2 verse 10. It says, "Look at the generations of old, and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? And this is what we're doing today, through our fasting and praying. We're calling upon the Father to guide and protect us through these times, and when we look at the scriptures, he would guide and protect us, we'd call upon him with a clean and pure heart. So those of us who are fasting, we're doing this with a pure heart, a clean heart, and asking the Most High to protect us through these perilous times. And the first scripture I want to draw, this is 2 Chronicles 20 and verse 1. It says, "And it came to pass after this also, that the children of Moab and the children of Ammon, and with them other besides the Ammonites, came against Jehoshaphat to battle. It says, Then there came some that told Jehoshaphat, saying, There cometh a great multitude against thee from beyond the sea, on this side Syria, and behold, they be in Azazon Tamar, which is En-gedi. And Jehoshaphat feared, and set himself to seek the Lord, and proclaimed a fast throughout Judea." Yeah. And it says, "And Judah gathered themselves together to ask help of the Lord. Even out of all the cities of Judah, they came to seek the Lord." So this is one instance when we had our enemies coming against us, and we called upon the Lord, as a people, as a nation, through fasting. And, I don't believe that anyone who's in this truth would say that we're not going through perilous times now with worse to come. So it's a good thing for us to band together as a nation, to call on the Lord through prayer and fasting. At the end of the day, our enemies that's coming against us, they're not going to single a certain people out and leave others out because, you call yourself by this name and they call themselves by that name. They're coming up us, like it says in Revelation. It says that the dragon's coming to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai Mashiach. And that's who, our enemies are coming against. They're not going to single one out and say, oh, we're not going to trouble the others because they're of this body or whatever. They're coming against us because we know that we're Israel and we're keeping the faith and the commandments to the best of our ability. And as we can see in old times, our foreparents, we banded together as a nation, as Israel. Yeah? Not by whatever names we may go by, but as Israel, and called upon the Lord through fasting and prayer. Now this is Esther, chapter 4, verse 1. It says, "When Mordecai perceived that all was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and a bitter cry." Now, what was happening here? Let me jump down a bit to get some background on what was happening. Then, this is verse 5, Esther 4:5. "Then Esther called for Attash, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was." So she sent out this guy to go to Mordecai to find out why he was in the state he was. So Attash went forth to Mordecai onto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave him a copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make requests before him for the people. So what happened, this wicked guy Haman, if I'm not mistaken, it was an Edomite, managed to get the king to make a decree to get all Israelites killed, like all of us. So this is why Mordecai was in the state he was. So I'm going to start it again. Esther 4:1. "When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and a bitter cry." It says, "And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews. So when we heard this decree that all of us should be put to death, there was great mourning, it says, and in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So when this decree came out, and we started to find out about it, we as a people, we started to weep, mourn, and also fast. And like I said, there's many scriptures, throughout there's many instances, I should say, throughout the scriptures where we were in trouble and we fasted and prayed and called upon the Most High to protect us. And we're going through those troubled times now, and like I said, it's good for us to band together as a people, as a nation, and come together and fast. Now, the last scripture I'm going to pull is Judith chapter 4. Where am I going to start? Start 1, give some background. It says, Now the children of Israel that dwelt in Judea heard all that Ophnes, the chief captain of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, had done to the nations, and after what manner he had spoiled all their temples and brought them to naught. Therefore they were exceedingly afraid of him, and were troubled for Jerusalem and for the temple of the Lord their power. For they were newly returned from the captivity, and all the people of Judea were lately gathered together, and the vessels and the altar and the house were sanctified after the profanation. Therefore they sent into all the coast of Samaria and the villages, and to Betharon and Belmen and Jericho, and to Choba and Esora, and to the valley of Salem, and possessed themselves before all of the tops of the high mountains, and fortified the villages that were in them, and laid up victuals for the provision of war, for their fields were of late reaped. It says, And Joachim the high priest, which was in those days in Jerusalem, wrote to them that dwelt in Bethula and Bethomesem, which is over against Esdraelon, towards the open country near to Dophim, charging them to keep the passages of the hill country, for by them there was an entrance into Judea, and it was easy to stop them that would come up, because the passage was straight for 2 men at the most. So like I said, this is another instance where now we've got this chief captain of Nebuchadnezzar. He's looking to come up against us now. And what did we do? It says, this is Judith chapter 4 and verse, where did I stop? I'll read from verse 7. Charging them to keep the passage of the hill country, for by them there was an entrance into Judea, and it was easiest to stop them that would come up, because the passage was straight for 2 men at the most. And the children of Israel did as Joachim the high priest had commanded them, with the ancients of the people of Israel, which dwelt at Jerusalem. Verse 9. Then every man of Israel cried to the Most High with great fervency, and with great vehemency did they humble their souls, both they and their wives and their children and their cattle, and every stranger and hireling and their servants, bought with money, put sackcloth upon their loins. Verse 11 says, Thus every man and woman and the children and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell before the temple, and cast ashes upon their heads, and spread out their sackcloth before the face of the Lord. Also they put sackcloth about the altar, and cried to the Most High of Israel, all with one consent earnestly. And this is what we're doing now. Those of us who are partaking in this fast, we're crying unto the Most High earnestly, to save us from and protect us through these perilous times, and to save us from our enemies, that he would not give their children for a prey, and their wives for a spoil, and the cities of their inheritance to destruction, and the sanctuary to profanation and reproach, and for the nations to rejoice at. Verse 13. So the Most High heard their prayers, and looked upon their afflictions, for the people fasted. Yeah? It says the people fasted many days in all Judea and Jerusalem before the sanctuary of the Lord Almighty. So, like I said, there's many instances in the scriptures where our people, when we was going through troubled times, we banded together as a nation, yeah? Not as our single bodies, but as a nation, and prayed and fasted to the Most High to protect us. So fasting as a nation is a good thing, Israel. We shouldn't really pass up these opportunities for us to band together as one and call upon our power, for Him to guide and protect us through these perilous times. So with that, I hope you can get some edification. I'm going to close out. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash, Kwam Yasharallah.